Well, the attack in Berlin means the president-elect is going to be confronting a series of global crises as soon as he enters the Oval Office. So how will he respond? How will his team respond? Here now is Lieutenant General Thomas McInerney, Fox News military analyst. General, great to see you. We got a lot of generals, by the way, on the president's security team. Let's just go through some of them. We got John Kelly. He's the Department of Homeland Security chief nominee. We have James Mattis, of course, Mad Dog Mattis, Defense Secretary, and General Michael Flynn. He's the National Security Advisor. General Flynn came out with his book a couple of months ago called The Field of Fight. And in this, I think it's a terrific little book. It's not that long, but there's a lot of substance in here. I'm sure you've read it. He says, quote, very few Americans seem to recognize that a global war is being waged against us. We are in a world war against radical Islam. How will being able to define it, which is something that our current president hasn't been able to do for the past 8 years, change the war itself?
Well, first of all, I have an autographed copy of it, and I've read it, and it's an excellent book. General Flynn understands this extremely well, and that's why President Trump has identified the threat as radical Islam, David. That's the #1 thing to do. You identify the threat, and then you form a grand coalition, which they will be in the process of doing. And that grand coalition will consist, under U.S. leadership, of NATO and Middle East and Arab allies. And you then go and you attack the ideology in which the Muslims themselves must change.
But let me just stop you there, General, yes, if I may, because some of the folks that we have called allies in the Islamic community have, you know, on one hand, they shake hands with us and claim their support for our goals, but on the other hand, some of them are actually funding the terrorists.
Absolutely. And that's what we've got to change. We've got to confront them. King Salman in Saudi Arabia, he does that. And so he must talk to the mullahs in Mecca and Medina and say, look, we cannot have this ideology, this cancerous ideology that is going to defeat Islam if we don't get control of it. And they must start putting out fatwas that if people attack the West, then they are what they call unholy warriors and will forever live in damnation. The fact is we must attack the ideology as we simultaneously attack the Islamic forces with kinetic weapons and a whole host of things. But by addressing the target, which the Obama administration for 8 years did not do, they aided and abetted it. They gave Iran, the #1 terror maker in the world, $150 billion to modernize their nuclear weapons process, so in 8 years they're going to have a full capability, as well as which they admitted would go towards terrorism, funding Hezbollah. And that's why we've got the problem that we do in Syria, because they now have additional resources. They bonded with Russia, but Russia has this problem too, and we need to bring Russia in to this because they lost their ambassador yesterday. It will bite them as well.
It's a complex world, but they've got the generals to take on the enemies that confront us. General McInerney, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.